Okay, so a while back, and let me move my mic real quick. A while back, I had this idea for a indie card game, like a single player card game, RPG sort of situation. Okay, I've always wanted to make one of these. I've got a long list of ideas for this sort of thing going on, so expect to hear more about this nonsense. But anyway, let me just jump right into this. I'm not going to make this super long, but a while back I had this idea for a card game set in like a post-apocalyptic America, right? So, your classic apocalypse has happened and the world's all disparate, society's collapsed, whatever, right, all that classic stuff. You gotta survive, you gotta not die, whatever, collect your things. But the key conceit or the key focus of the game is actually around card games. And not a specific card game, but the fact that a culture has arisen in the post-apocalypse around trading card games. And so, all the trading card games that existed before the apocalypse are now commodities that people look for, that people trade for, including your Yu-Gi-Oh!, your Magic, your Pokemon. All of these are things people are looking for. But the world has forgotten the rules to these games. They don't remember how these games work anymore. And instead, there is one grand card game that everyone plays together, right? And you, as the survivor, are scavenging for cards to add to your collection from any and all games. And you can build decks using cards from any and all games. You can have a deck with Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Magic cards and Pokemon cards and Riftbound cards. I don't know, whatever you find in the wastes, right? TCGs, CCGs, board games, playing cards, cards from board games like Clue. You got your Colonel Mustards or whatever in there, and they all they have effects and rules in games that you play. But when you go out in the world to play against other people with your deck of mismatched cards, the rules might be different depending on who you're playing. And the idea would be kind of like, there's like semi-universal rules, right? Where it mostly works all the same. Every time you go to different establishments to go play against people in the wastes, other people who are surviving like you are, but, you have this common interest in finding cards from games and putting decks together. Some of them will have house rules where sometimes the cards work a little bit differently and you go to play with them. I imagine this sort of like the Pokemon games, where there's towns and cities you travel between, but post-apocalyptic, and there's like survival stuff going on a little bit, and there's like gyms, like gym leaders, and there's like, here is the town where people are really into the Yu-Gi-Oh cards that they find, so their decks have a lot more of those, and they've focused their rules and ideas around that. They've more explored those mechanics, and so when you beat people from that area, you get more Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and their gym leader has like a really cool built-out Yu-Gi-Oh deck with all the Egyptian god cards and stuff like that in it, right? And you go to a different town, and you've got the Magic the Gathering town. And then there's the Pokemon trading card town, where people have more of that stuff going on. That's what they're looking for. That's what their focus is. And all the characters are stylized around that sort of thing in the waste. I think that could be really, really fun. And they have their leaders who lead them, who helped generate their version of the rules for their part of the card game. I think it could be really silly. Obviously, I think it could be fun to have like a backdrop of a survival game where there is danger in the world that you're hunting, you're gathering your food, you're getting resources, and whatever serves as money in the world. Mostly cards would be like, I feel like in this idea would be money. And there's like, I don't know, zombies or mutants out in the world that you have to survive and maybe, kill or whatever. And there's like that little background going on, but it's all in service of finding cards. So if you go and scavenge like an abandoned house, you're looking for their board games or any like binders they have with cards in them. See if you can find anyone's collection to add to yours from that scavenging mission. And you'll be scavenging for other things that people find valuable, like food. Like you might need that too, but then you can trade the valuables for cards that people might have, because your whole goal is actually just to build a good deck, right? So like when one of the universal rules is, because there's not as many cards as there are in the real world, you can't just buy cards online because it doesn't exist anymore. It's the apocalypse. So there's a universal rule that when you beat someone, you get to take a card from their deck. The losing player, like if I lose to a player while I'm playing this, I have to give them a card. And whenever I beat them, they have to give me a card. And that's part of it as well, is like when you go out in the world and you find people to fight, you get cards that way, right? Leaders, they've earned their place, right? The leaders, the gym leaders or whatever, like the card shop leaders, I guess they would be, right? Have earned their place. So they have badges like gym leaders in Pokemon, but when they give it to you, you get to use their special rules. That's what the badges are. The badges are like special rules that they get to use. And in their gyms, their people get to use their special rule, but when you go out into the world, you can use the badges you've earned to get special rules that are like passive abilities, or you get additional things you can do that other players don't get to do, that kind of thing. All of this would still be within post-apocalyptic survival, and I think what this would do would allow for a very cool exploratory game, like where you're exploring everything. It's very fun to kind of find things in the world, but there's like these neat little like hints and like a love letter to people who really love card games like I do. And I gotta tell you, part of the inspiration for this was like, first of all, I've always wanted to make a card game RPG really bad. Like, that's one of my dreams. I will do it one day once I have the people skills and the group together to do that, the people who know how to do that kind of stuff with the way that I design things and their programming skills, all of that. I'm gonna make something like this. But I also have a box. It's on the shelf right here behind me that is filled with cards from all sorts of card games. We call it the kitchen sink. And the kitchen sink is a draftable or playable game where it has cards from all sorts of card games. It's got Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Digimon, Magic the Gathering, cards from my own card game, Sailor Moon, the card game cards, Dot Hack cards. It's got cards from all, like 3 different Star Wars card games are in there. Like, it's got stuff from all over the place in that. It's fantastic and very fun to play, but I have created universal rules around it. So when we play, there's 2 things happening. You are following the rules that are set out, but every time a card doesn't follow those rules or has something else that needs to figure out, you just decide as a group, what do we think this card should do? That's all. The difference in the video game is that you might not know what the card should do because all you see is the text of the card from the original game it's from, and when you play it, it might do something, and then now you know what it does. But you didn't know that before you actually played it because the video gaminess of it would allow that to be a surprise for the player and would be fun. I don't know. This sounds awesome. This is something I'm very interested in exploring. I have started a design document for it, but I just thought I'd just kind of... I don't know what everyone else has thought of something like this. I think I remember very recently someone showed me, I think, a TikTok of someone who had made an animation that's kind of similar vibes. Not exactly the same thing, but kind of similar vibes. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I think this would be a fantastically fun game to build around. Obviously, you know, there is sort of an issue, a small issue. I couldn't use like Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. I could try and make it a like free game that I'm not profiting off of, but I still think a lot of those still get taken down when you're just making, like, especially with video games, when you make a game that's using properties that exist, even if you're not profiting off of it, a lot of times they get, you know, cease and desist or taken down. But it could be fun. I think it would have a better impact if I got to use the real cards from the real games as like the pieces, but if not, I'm sure I could figure out how to make the fictional versions of these card games stand out from one another enough to work and to kind of sell it. Like, oh, here is the monster collecting game, and here is the game where you're a wizard, and here is the game that doesn't make any freaking sense but is definitely cool and is very Japanese in design, or Yu-Gi-Oh! You know what I mean? Excuse me. There's like a lot of different ways you could take this, so I don't know. Could be awesome. Let me know what you think. Alright, that's my small little rant. I didn't want to go too hard on this one today. Fuck! I was trying to use the grappling hook, but it kept making me use the dead body.